Okay, this is a instructional video. We've been privileged to do 4 Goose multi-engine seaplane ratings to date, and we've got 4 more scheduled again this summer. I'm by no means the ultimate Goose expert. People like Burke Mees in Alaska and of course Fred Ball are the Goose gurus, and we were trained by them. A lot of what I'm going to interject in the next video presentation is what we've learned from these guys. We don't do open ocean flying. We're primarily flying eastern Washington, North Idaho. We've got 72 local lakes. This area is kind of seaplane heaven. A little bit of background on the airplane. This is a Grumman Goose. The military designation for the Navy was JRF. -4, -5, -6 are by far the most popular. This airplane's technically a JFR-6B Bravo, meaning that it was initially built as a Lend-Lease effort for the Royal Navy. And our hope was that this did something significant, like fly Winston Churchill to some event. Well, it turns out the airplane spent its Royal Navy tenure in the Caribbean at Trinidad. And I think it was probably a beer hack for all the Sunderland pilots learning to fly during War II. So it didn't do anything too significant. After War II, it came out to the West Coast. It flew for Avalon Air, which was a predecessor to Catalina Airlines. And it flew from Catalina to Long Beach for a number of years. Ended up in the Caribbean after a few other owners. Was owned by Charlie Blair with an airline called Antilles in the Caribbean. Charlie Blair was married to the movie actress Maureen O'Hare, and at one point they operated 17 amphibians, gooses and mallards, and a great big 4-engine Sikorsky in the Caribbean for many years. Charlie Blair was killed in 1978 in a Grumman Goose with a catastrophic left engine failure. The airplane hit the water with heavy seas. The airplane broke up. He was killed. After that, the airplane eventually ended up in Alaska and flew in Alaska till the early 80s when it became a corrosion ball. Ended up at Aero Metal Fabricators in Seattle for a rebuild. The plug was pulled on that effort by 1989, and the airplane went to Rick Brickert of Air Race fame, and he, of course, was killed in the Pond Racer at Reno in 1994. At that point, the airplane went to the Palm Springs Air Museum and was reassembled as a static and never going to fly again. It was turned into a children's play yard in the museum with a plywood floor, devoid of any systems or controls, lots of pop rivets, lots of O2 thin sheet metal, and lots of Bondo and a paint job. And it was a children's play yard until 2012, when we were able to get the airplane from the museum and then brought it back to Spokane for a 5-year, 8,000-hour restoration with my family and volunteers. And this constituted, of course, brand new firewall forwards. We've got Covington rebuilds with Hamilton Standard 22D30 full feathering propellers. And we ended up having to completely disassemble the wings and center section. They were reskinned. We did 18 spar cap repairs. Out of interest, when the spar caps were originally extruded at the Grumman factory, they were put onto a steel rack with fingers every 18 inches. And that cooling action after the extrusion introduced stress corrosion, which morphed into intergranular exfoliation with time. With that said, if you look at a Grumman product, if you're looking for corrosion issues in structural elements, they're going to occur in 18-inch elements. We went to a DER here in town and produced a 57-page report and a field approval with the 8110-3 to get the wings airworthy. That was kind of a mammoth effort. My son Ryan did a lot of nose rebuild. We put a new keel on it, and of course had to reinstall and fabricate most of the primary flight controls, the trim system, and of course all the engine and flight fuel and flap systems. So that was kind of fun. We flew the airplane in April of 2017. We've got 300 hours in the airplane so far, and I have to say it's been one of the most rewarding experiences. It's just been remarkable. The airplane is an absolute sweetheart on the runway and a swan on the water.